Grizzlies fans, welcome into another Grizz game day update. Today, the Grizzlies will take on the Hornets for the first time this season. Joining me for also the first time is Doug Branson. And Doug, I'm excited because there's always a storyline, no matter what. And I think one of the big storylines today is that the two teams with the longest losing streaks in the NBA go head to head. The Grizzlies on a 7-game losing streak, the Charlotte Hornets on a 10-game losing streak. And that is not the exciting part. The exciting part is that one of those streaks will be broken tonight.
It's a something's got to give game, and you got to love a something's got to give game.
Something has got to give. I think where we should start maybe is one, because these two teams haven't seen each other, and two, because the trade deadline just happened. There's some new faces on the teams. So I'm going to start on the Grizzlies end. Um, we traded away Xavier Tillman Sr. and David Roddy in return. Now we have Yuta Watanabe's back and Lamar Stevens is back. Both of those guys will be available to play tonight. Do you want to do yours?
It's a lot because the Hornets were very active at the deadline, and
Mhm.
so two big parts of the offense went away in PJ Washington and Gordon Hayward. Now, Gordon Hayward has been dealing with injuries pretty much his entire tenure
I was
in
about to say his
Charlotte, but
entire life. So,
right, but certainly this year as well. So he had been out for a while. But obviously losing PJ, who's has been inconsistent, but can be a major scoring factor
mhm.
on a given night. So they ship both of those two guys out, and in return, lots of new faces, and none of them that have spent time in Charlotte before. So you've got from Oklahoma City, you bring back Trey Mann, you bring back Davis Bertans and Vasilija Micic. And then on the Dallas side, two guys that were originally from Charlotte, grew up in Charlotte, went to high school in Charlotte, and
So cool.
Grant Williams and Seth Curry. So lots of new faces. You've got to find ways to integrate those guys immediately. I mean, the Hornets were on the road against Milwaukee, so all those guys showed up in Charlotte to sort of get debriefed, and then they got to
Okay.
hop on the PJ and get over to Memphis to figure this game out. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Hornets move all of these guys into the rotation, which guys play, which guys don't. One of the big things from this trade deadline is that the Hornets got some playmakers because the Hornets have been short on that all season. They went into the season with LaMelo Ball. They let Dennis Smith Jr. go to Brooklyn, so they get Frank Ntilikina. He fractures his tibia in the preseason, so they drag Ish Smith out of almost retirement, and then LaMelo gets hurt. So then
Yeah.
you've got Ish Smith. You don't really have any other point guards. Now they have some point guards. So it should be a little bit more interesting Hornets team to watch than it has been in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Although that first game with everyone here on our team, on the Hornets, it's kind of like building that chemistry. So I don't expect it. Okay. Actually, I was going to say I don't expect it to be a super fluid, high scoring game because everyone is still trying to figure it out. But then right before we started recording, we talked about these teams being 30th and 29th in points per game. What offensively, what kind of game do you expect tonight? If you were putting money on it, like what offensively are the Hornets going to bring tonight?
Hopefully, a little bit more ball movement. I mean, in the
Mhm.
past couple of weeks, again, without LaMelo, who is your, dynamic playmaker, can make anything happen for himself, can make anything happen for anybody else.
Mhm.
The offense has really gotten jammed up and devolved into a lot of ISO possessions that involve sort of a taking of turns between Miles Bridges driving and either getting to a mid range shot that hasn't been very effective or getting to the rim for a layup that hasn't been very effective. What has been effective for Miles is when he does get 3-point opportunities, he's knocking them in. That resulted in, two out of the last three games, he scored 40 plus. Brandon
Crazy.
Miller, yeah, nuts. Probably part of the reason why he's still in Charlotte because he was hot on the trade rumors too, right? But Brandon Miller has been the exciting rookie this season. Super smart, high IQ, doing a lot, learning a lot, and accelerating his game in ways that I didn't even expect in his rookie season. But they've been taking turns in this ISO ball. So really, you hope that with Mann, Curry, and maybe Micic, these guys will come in and move the ball a little bit more, help some of these players get open looks without having to create them on their own.
I want to talk about a player that you just brought up, Brandon Miller. He's been averaging 24 points over the last 8 games. And what excites me about tonight, specifically with him, is that I picture the matchup Brandon Miller, this really good young guy who can score versus on our end, Vince Williams Jr., this really young guy who can score, but is also like this dog on defense. Uh, what excites you about that matchup specifically? These two young guys who are just dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to see, Brandon Miller continue to be challenged as an offensive player with guys that are going at him, attacking him in his shirt. And, a lot of teams have gone to double teams with Brandon Miller, especially if he starts off hot early. And
Mhm.
he's been able to navigate those really well. And again, exceptionally well considering that, he's a rookie and you
Yeah.
expect those guys to kind of clam up a little bit or turn the ball over a lot in those situations, but he really hasn't. He's able to quickly navigate out of those, keep the ball, away from that, split the double teams, and then find the open guy on the pass.
Mhm.
So, but I love those 1v1 opportunities with guys that really want to challenge themselves with taking away his game. The
Yeah.
difficulty with taking away Brandon Miller's game is that he's super long. He can get shots up pretty quick, and he's a beast in the mid range, which not a lot of people expected because at Alabama, that was not how they ran the offense. The
Mhm.
offense was either you're shooting a three or taking a layup, no mid range opportunities. But Brandon Miller is a dead eye from mid range, and he loves getting there, and he has a package of moves that can open up shots for him. So, anytime anyone is a physical defender with him, though, because he's a little undersized for his position, I'm excited by that because I want to see how he steps up to that challenge.
Lastly, I want to talk about some of the bigs. The Grizzlies have struggled on the boards and struggled against teams who can rebound just because they're so thin on that big roster right now with all the injuries. Like I said, Xavier Tillman Sr. is uh in Boston now. I was
Yeah.
looking, like Nick Richards is averaging 8 rebounds per game. Miles Bridges, 7 rebounds per game. Like there's these guys that can rebound. Going up against Jaren Jackson Jr. and Gigi Jackson, both of these guys very good offensively this year. They're both coming off 27 or more point games against the Bulls. What do you expect with the bigs? What can the Charlotte
Yeah.
Hornet bigs do to take advantage of Gigi Jackson and Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Well, listen, they just got to play hard. I mean, this is not a good rebounding team. The Hornets are not a good rebounding team. They try to attack the glass in terms of generating some easy
They're
offensive
the
rebound.
28th in the league in rebounds per game, but the Grizzlies are 24th. So
Right. And it's been a combination of things. It's been they haven't had enough size. Mark Williams has missed a vast majority of the year with a lower back
yeah.
issue, contusion, something's going on there, trying to avoid surgery. They're
Mhm.
continuing to rehab that. And they didn't really come in with a ton of depth at the center position either. I mentioned the point guard depth issues. They also didn't come in with much depth at center. So you can see why the Hornets kind of in the situation that they're in right now.
Yeah.
But without that depth of center, they've had to rely on Nick Richards, who has played well, but then Nathan Mensah, who they called up from the G League and doesn't have a ton of experience, a little bit undersized at the center position. And so it's been difficult for them to rebound, but that's only been part of the issue. The other part is they simply just don't go after rebounds very aggressively. I mean, these long rebounds, the 50-50 balls, those have unfortunately gone to the other team more often than the Hornets have been hitting the floor and looking for those rebounds. And, I think anytime you make moves around the deadline, there are a variety of reasons why you do so. I think one of the big reasons for the Hornets was they needed to shake things up. I mean, there
Yeah.
is a culture issue in Charlotte in terms of just giving maximum effort, playing hard, hitting the floor, doing the gritty, grindy things that Memphis has, been known for many years. Hornets don't have that kind of culture right now. Hopefully, this shakes things up. Whether it's the new guys or just a wake up call for some of the players that are still here, is that hey, you still can gain things by playing well. Even if you don't win the game, even if you don't, hurt your chances at a better, draft pick,
Mhm.
you can play well. You can do some of the things that will set the tone for next year.
Mhm.
And so, and rebounding is a huge part of that. Look, you can't win games in the NBA if you don't rebound. It's just plain and simple.
Simple as
And
that.
so the Hornets, hopefully can improve that part of their game and starting tonight, but through the rest of the season as well.
All right, Doug, you've given the Grizzlies hope. One of these teams is going to break their losing streak tonight. I appreciate your time so very much. So thank you for coming on today.
Totally. Thanks for having me on. Had a good time.
And Grizzlies fans, this is a little bit earlier because they're out east. 6 p.m. tip. Make sure you're watching it on Valley Sports Southeast.